ever feel like you're stuck with a certain amount of talent or intelligence? Like you only get so much and that's it.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we're diving into today with Carol Dweck's Mindset.
Oh, great book.
It's all about how our beliefs about our abilities, are they fixed or can we grow them? It can totally shape our lives.
It's amazing how Dweck lays out these two mindsets, fixed and growth.
Hmm.
Like with a fixed mindset, you might think intelligence is like predetermined.
You're born with a certain amount and that's all you get.
Right. And this can make you feel like you always have to prove yourself, afraid to fail.
So then you're saying someone with a growth mindset, they kind of thrive on learning itself, like they're not so focused on just looking smart?
Absolutely. They see
Yeah.
challenges and setbacks not as like, see, I'm not good enough, but as chances to learn and grow.
It's like always being a student, excited to learn new things.
Exactly.
Dweck uses the example of Enron, remember them?
Oh, yeah.
They were obsessed with only hiring superstars, like talent was all that mattered.
Yeah, and that's such a classic example of the fixed mindset backfiring.
Because they thought talent was everything.
Right, they didn't see the need to keep learning to grow. And, well, you know what happened there.
It makes you wonder, have you ever felt like you had to keep up this image of being successful instead of just like being open to learning and adapting in your work?
Oh, for sure. It's something we all deal with. Dweck also talks about that golfer, what's his name? Sergio Garcia.
Oh, yeah.
He's known for getting really emotional when he messes up, and she thinks it's because of that fixed mindset. Every mistake makes him feel like he's not as talented as everyone thinks.
And that fear of failure can trap you. If you're always afraid to mess up, you won't take any risks. You won't try anything new.
Totally. You won't grow that way.
And that's where the growth mindset really shines through. Dweck mentions Michael Jordan, how he didn't let missed shots, even losing games, define him.
He just kept working harder.
He used it all to learn and get better. It wasn't about being perfect. He just wanted to keep improving.
Yeah, that's what it's all about.
It's wild how these mindsets, fixed and growth, they pop up everywhere, right? Not just in like sports or at work, but just in our everyday lives.
Right.
One thing that really got me was how Dweck says our mindset actually changes what motivates us.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like with a fixed mindset, you end up always needing approval from other people.
It's true. With a fixed mindset, you're always trying to prove you're good enough.
Mm-hmm.
Every little win is just another way to show everyone how smart you are.
It's like you're always putting on a show.
Exactly. And that can be really tiring. You're so busy trying to look perfect, you don't let yourself take risks or try new things. Dweck says people with a growth mindset are different. They're not driven by approval. They just love learning. They want to get better, even if it means messing up along the way.
So it's not about someone else telling you you're smart. It's about the feeling you get from learning new stuff and improving.
Exactly. It's like a fixed mindset is trying to prove how smart it is. But a growth mindset is trying to get smarter. Dweck uses those two CEOs as an example. What were their names? Lee Iacocca, he was at Chrysler. And
and the other one was Lou Gerstner. He turned IBM around.
right, him. So Iacocca, he had these big ideas, and at first, he was really successful, but then he started caring more about protecting his image than actually changing with the times.
Because he had that fixed mindset.
Yeah. He thought if someone suggested he do something different, it meant they thought he wasn't good enough.
Wow. So even if you're successful at first with a fixed mindset, if you're not open to learning and changing, it can really hurt you in the long run.
Oh, for sure. Gerstner, on the other hand, he had a growth mindset. When he took over IBM, he knew he didn't have all the answers.
He was willing to admit that. That's kind of rare for a CEO, isn't it?
Totally. But that's what made him so successful. He encouraged his team at IBM to try new things, to experiment, He wasn't afraid of making mistakes as long as they learned from them.
So instead of acting like he was the smartest guy in the room, he focused on helping everyone at IBM learn and grow together.
Exactly. He knew that would make the whole company stronger.
This whole idea of learning instead of proving yourself, it seems really important when you hit a roadblock, like when you fail at something. How does Dweck say we should handle failure if we have a growth mindset?
Well, people with fixed mindsets, when they fail, they take it really personally,
Like it's a sign they're just not good enough.
Yeah, exactly. They think, I screwed up, so that means I'm a failure, and then they're afraid to try again. But someone with a growth mindset, they see failure totally differently.
How so?
They see it as a learning opportunity. Like, okay, that didn't work, so what can I learn from it? What can I do differently next time?
Instead of giving up, they get back up and try again.
Exactly. They use failure to learn and grow. It actually makes them stronger.
It reminds me of how we were raised and educated, too.
Oh, yeah,
Like, did Dweck talk about how these mindsets are shaped when we're kids?
all the time. Like she talks about how important it is to praise kids for their effort, not just for being smart.
So instead of telling a kid, you're so smart, when they do well, you should say something like, wow, you must have worked really hard on that.
Exactly. Because if you tell a kid they're smart all the time, they might start to believe it.
Yeah.
And then what happens when they face a challenge? They might not want to try as hard because they're afraid of looking dumb.
That makes sense. You don't want them to get stuck thinking they have to be perfect all the time.
Exactly. It's much better to encourage them to embrace the learning process, even if it means making mistakes along the way. Because that's how we all learn and grow.
So it seems like we've been talking about these mindsets fixed and growth, like they're, set in stone.
Yeah,
But Dweck says we can actually change our mindset. It's not permanent.
that's the good news. It's not like we're stuck with whatever we've got forever.
That's a relief. So even if, like, our parents or teachers didn't really encourage a growth mindset when we were kids, we can still develop it as adults.
Right. Absolutely. Dweck says it's more like a habit. And habits, well, they can be changed. It takes some effort, but it's possible.
So how do we actually do that? Dweck talks about role models being important, but what about the rest of us? Where do we start if we want to shift from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset?
She says it starts with paying attention to that little voice in your head. You know, that voice that pops up sometimes and tells you you're not good enough.
Oh, yeah. Like when you don't even want to try something new because you're afraid you'll mess up.
Exactly. Or when you're working on something, you hit a snag
Yeah.
and you just want to give up. Those are the times when you really need to pay attention to what you're telling yourself. Those are your fixed mindset thoughts creeping in.
Okay, so say you notice those thoughts, those fixed mindset thoughts. What do you do then?
Well, first, you just have to notice them. It's like if you've got weeds in your garden, you can't pull them out if you don't see them, right? Once you're aware of those negative thoughts, those I can't thoughts, you can start to change them.
So, like, give me an example. What if you catch yourself thinking, I'm just not good at this? What would Dweck say?
Instead of saying, I'm not good at this, try saying, I'm still learning. You're shifting your focus from being judged to being a work in progress.
It's like instead of saying I am this or that, you're saying I'm learning, which is a process.
Right. You're not defining yourself by what you can or can't do right now. You're acknowledging that you're on a journey.
That's a really good point. Dweck also talks about how important it is to actually seek out challenges, even if they make us a little uncomfortable. How does that play into all of this?
It's like exercise for your mindset. If you want to grow, you have to push yourself outside of that comfort zone. You have to be willing to learn new things, even if you might mess up at first.
So it's okay to look silly or make mistakes along the way.
It's more than okay, it's necessary. That's how we learn. And, this whole growth mindset thing, it's not just about us becoming more successful or whatever.
What do you mean?
Dweck says that when more people adopt a growth mindset, it can actually make the world a better place.
Really? How so?
Well, if you have a growth mindset, you're more open to other people's ideas. You're more willing to work together, to collaborate. You're not so worried about being right all the time. You're more interested in finding the best solutions, even if they're not your own.
So it's like a ripple effect. If we change our mindset, it can change our relationships, our workplaces, maybe even society as a whole.
Exactly. It's pretty amazing when you think about it. And, we've just scratched the surface here today.
Yeah, Dweck's book goes into so much detail.
It really does. If you want to dive deeper into this whole mindset thing, I highly recommend checking out her book, Mindset.
It's been really eye-opening talking about all of this. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive.
My pleasure.
And to everyone listening, we hope you'll join us next time as we continue to explore the big ideas that shape our lives. Until then, remember, you're not stuck. You can grow and learn and change no matter what.